Today our topic is pelvic inflammatory disease. What is pelvic inflammatory disease? Definition of pelvic inflammatory disease is it's a clinical syndrome associated with ascending spread of microorganisms from vagina, cervix to the endometrium, fallopian tube, ovaries and so on. And PID is nothing but it is the inflammatory condition of the pelvic cavity that involves the uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, pelvic peritoneum and pelvic vascular system. It may be acute, subacute, recurrent or chronic, localized or widespread, caused by bacteria, virus, fungus, parasites and most common etiology being the gonorrheal, chlamydial and mycoplasma. Incidence rate includes it occurs mostly in less than 25 years of age and 1 million of women suffer every year from PID and 1/4 of them land in serious sequelae like infertility, tubal pregnancy. And PID, it is an infection of vagina causing the colpitis and cervix causing the endocervicitis, uterus endometritis, fallopian tube salpingitis and ovary euphoritis and pelvic peritonitis, tubo-ovarian abscess. Most common pathogens includes the Neisseria gonorrhea, chlamydia trachomatis, and its combination is very common, that is 25 to 75% of patients. And the risk factors includes having a history of PID, history of gonorrhea or chlamydial infection, male partners with gonorrhea or chlamydial infection, multiple partners, current dowsing and IUD insertion, surgical procedures over the cervix like conization, LEEP, leads, etc. and bacterial vaginosis and the demographics. In certain demographic conditions, PID is most common and STDs and endometrial biopsy. What are the symptoms of PID? Symptoms of PID includes the lower abdominal pain, dysmenorrhea, low back pain and sense of constant pressure or swelling in the lower abdomen, fever, malaise, nausea, vomiting and dizziness and abnormal vaginal discharge and dysmenorrhea. Diagnostic criteria includes the major and minor. Major criteria includes the cervical motion tenderness, uterine motion tenderness and adnexal tenderness, and minor criteria includes the temperature more than 38.3 degrees centigrade and abnormal cervical discharge and pelvic abscess and or inflammatory complex on by manual examination, and gram-negative intracellular diplococci gram staining, positive chlamydial test and leukocytosis more than 10,000 and elevated ESR and CRP. What are the sequelae of PID? It includes the ectopic pregnancy, infertility and chronic pelvic pain. Here are the complications. Complications of PID includes the recurrent PID, ruptured abscess, chronic pain, ectopic pregnancy, infertility and perihepatic adhesions, that is Fitz-Hugh-Curtis syndrome seen in case of tubercular infection. And differential diagnosis includes the appendicitis, gastroenteritis, cholecystitis, irritable bowel syndrome, ectopic pregnancy, chronic ovarian cyst, and nephrolithiasis. These are rare, but with differential diagnosis, they may occur in some patients. And pathophysiology includes the organisms ascend from the lower genital tract to the upper side in immediate postpartum or post-abortal period and during menstruation, and infection causes the perihepatic inflammation when it invades the peritoneum. Diagnosis includes the history taking, physical examination, blood culture and ultrasonography, and management includes the for mild infection it can be given OP based treatment and bed rest, IV fluids, broad spectrum IV antibiotics, and treatment of sexual partner is also needed, and follows position during the hospital stay. Revision of PID includes PID is nothing but the acute infection of the upper genital urinary tract in women involving uterus, fallopian tubes and ovaries. Early diagnosis and treatment is very important to prevent infertility and ectopic pregnancy. Etiology is a polymicrobial thing, involves the Neisseria gonorrhea, chlamydia trachomatis, uroplasma urolyticum, Gardnerella vaginalis, Streptococcus pyogenes, Staphylococcus and Mycoplasma hominis and Mycobacterium tuberculosis and other bacteroides, Streptococcus clostridia, most common being the Neisseria gonorrhea and chlamydia trachomatis. And PID is a polymicrobial infection, and acute PID is an ascending infection caused by cervical as well as vaginal flora. Cervical microorganisms includes the chlamydia trachomatis and Neisseria gonorrhea. Vaginal microflora including the anaerobic organisms, enteric gram-negative rods and Gardnerella vaginalis. And bacterial vaginosis results in complex alteration of the normal vaginal flora, alteration of the host defense mechanisms in the cervicovaginal environment, and bacterial vaginosis is clearly explained in the upcoming videos. Pathology of acute PID includes inflamed and fluid-filled tubes, pyosalpinx, hydrosalpinx, tubo-ovarian abscess, pelvic abscess, pelvic or general peritonitis, Fitz-Hugh-Curtis syndrome. Inflammation of liver capsule can occur with chlamydia and gonococcal infection. Chronic PID, women who are inadequately treated or undertreated or have recurrent infection leads to chronic PID. Chronic PID pathology includes the tubo-ovarian mass, pyrosalpinx and hydrosalpinx and frozen pelvis. Risk factors include the young age, low socioeconomic status, multiple sexual partners, and unmarried or widow women, and past history, having a past history of STIs, vaginal douching and IUD insertion, smoking or any substance abuse. And complications of PID includes the pelvic peritonitis, general peritonitis, and rupture of TO mass, subdiaphragmatic or pelvinephric abscess, and septic thrombophlebitis and septicemia. What are the investigations in case of PID? Mainly includes the general investigations like CBP, total leukocyte count, differential leukocyte count, ESR, and endocervical discharge for pus cells, and NAT for chlamydia and gonorrhea, and vaginal discharge for wet saline and KOH test, and urine culture sensitivity, transvaginal ultrasound to rule out the TO mass, pyo or hydrosalpinx pelvic abscesses, and laparoscopy is considered as gold standard for diagnosis. Management of acute PID includes where we have to assess the need for hospitalization, antimicrobial therapy, and treatment of the partners, and counseling of the patient as it is a chronic disease, and assessment or response to the therapy, and follow-up for sequelae. Indications for hospitalization include lack of response to oral medications, non-adherence to therapy, inability to take oral medication due to nausea and vomiting, and severe clinical illness like high fever, nausea, vomiting, and severe abdominal pain, and complicated PID with pelvic abscess including TO mass. CDC guidelines for acute PID include cefoxitin 2 grams IV every 6th hourly, and doxycycline 100 mg 12th hourly. IV medication should be stopped 24 hours after the patient is fever free, and continue oral doxycycline for 14 days. Include the clindamycin 900 mg IV 8th hourly plus gentamicin loading dose 120 mg 2 mg per kg body weight, followed by maintenance dose of 1.5 mg every 8th hourly, and surgical intervention is needed in cases of like ultrasonography guided pus aspiration in case of pelvic abscess, subhepatic abscesses, and posterior colpotomy, pelvic abscess, and laparoscopic aspiration of pus or drainage of adhesiolysis, and laparotomy for abscess or ruptured pelvic collection, and salpingo-oophorectomy. And contact partners within history of 6 months after onset of disease should be treated. They should be screened for gonococcal or chlamydial infection. If screening is not possible, start empirical therapy. Avoid intercourse till the patient completes the treatment. Counseling. Early treatment reduces the risk of sequelae. Barrier contraception reduces the risk. And recurrence of infection increases the risk of infertility. Sexual partners must be treated. A brief thing regarding the chronic PID, and having a history of previous infections, continuous lower abdominal pain, deep dyspareunia, and congestive dysmenorrhea, menorrhagia, polymenorrhagia, and chronic pelvic pain and infertility. Signs of chronic PID includes the abdominal examination having a tenderness and mass arising from the pelvis. Per speculum, there will be cervical or vaginal discharge, and the pelvic examination reveals the fixed or retroverted tender adnexal tenderness or pelvic mass, hydrosalpinx, TO mass, or frozen pelvis. And differential diagnosis includes the endometriosis or chronic ectopic. Management includes the laparoscopic adhesiolysis, salpingo-oophorectomy, and laparotomy includes the adhesiolysis, salpingo-oophorectomy, and hysterectomy with BSO if the family is completed. Complete treatment of the sexual partner, use of various contraceptives, and abstinence during the treatment is very important. Criteria for admission include severe clinical illness, complicated PID like pelvic abscess, tubo-ovarian mass, and non-adherence to the therapy, lack of a response, and inability to take medications due to nausea or vomiting. Investigations include total leukocyte count, differential leukocyte count, gram staining for gonorrhea and pus cells, and NAT for chlamydia and gonorrhea, vaginal discharge for bacterial vaginosis, UPT, and transvaginal ultrasound. And how can we diagnose the PID includes the abdominal tenderness main, and per speculum examination there will be discharge from the cervix, and PV examination uterine tenderness, adnexal tenderness, or cervical tenderness, or mass or fullness in the PID. So in brief, we have discussed about the what is mean by PID and causes of PID, common cause of PID, and what is the incidence, and the most common pathogens and risk factors of PID, and what are the symptoms, and how can we diagnose major criteria and minor criteria, and what are the sequelae of PID and complications of PID, differential diagnosis, and the pathophysiology of acute as well as chronic PID, and minimal management. What are the hospitalization criteria for PID? So, what are the major polymicrobial etiology we discussed, and what is the pathology of acute and chronic PID? What are the risk factors and complications of PID? What are the investigations needed and CDC guidelines for acute PID treatment, and surgical intervention when it is needed, and management of sexual partners and counseling regarding the PID we have discussed. And lastly, the chronic PID, and what are the signs of chronic PID, what is the differential diagnosis, what is the management, and what are the criteria for admission, and how easily we can diagnose the PID we have discussed in this session. Thank you.